Hello, welcome back. Well, if you didn't know it, Sunday is Valentine's Day, or Saint Valentine's Day as it should be called. And will I be getting 12 red roses? Not a chance. Anyway, I thought we'll get on to romance in a minute. And before that, it struck me that I was reading about the Isle of Wight today, which everybody knows I'm very, very fond of, and its number of first-time visitors is at a 10-year high, which I thought was quite interesting. And well done, David Thornton, who was appointed to get people to go to the Isle of Wight, and he's obviously succeeding. And so but the curious irony of this is Visit Isle of Wight, that's the organisation David's attached to, is to lose its £330,000 grant from the council. So despite the council, it looks like, well, will he go on getting people to go there?
Well, isn't it a wonderful place? I share your feeling about the island as well. It's a great escape. I mean, it's so close to where we all live, and yet it's so different. So I think we have these American friends that come over quite frequently, and every time they come, they want to go to Osborne House, or they want to go to other locations over there.
It's fantastic,
so special.
Isn't it, Osborne?
But
really is.
I understand that the government minister is meeting with the Isle of Wight. It was raised in Parliament yesterday, I understand, about some funding, because there are areas within the local authority structure there where their funding is in a crucial position. They were able to provide the services, and I understand that a minister is coming to the Isle of Wight to look at it particularly.
Good.
It was raised by the MP.
Well, it was
in Parliament yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Sorry.
There was a guest on your show before that I happened to be on with as well, and he was making the point that the funding had been cut by some £300,000, and that the direct result of that would be probably loss of some jobs, and therefore there would then be job seekers allowance being paid that wouldn't have been paid had the tourism level been maintained. So it was, again, like we were saying before the commercial break, the fact that one area reduces its cost in local government, and as a result of that, another local government cost goes up again. But the island's fabulous.
So it'd be a lovely place, wouldn't it, to go on St. Valentine's Day and take the person of your choice. Notice I didn't say your wife. Naughty. No, take your wives or partners or whoever, wouldn't it, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't afford the ferry fare, I think.
I should love to go to Osborne House, if anybody would like to offer, and Freshwater Bay, which I'm very fond of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But let's get on to Valentine's then, because it is a day of romance, supposed to be. Now, is that something, as we get older, we care about, romance?
Yeah, I think it is. It depends. It comes under it's got slightly different connotations, I think, as you get older in that respect. They say that you. I mean, I can speak from experience here, having coming up to 59 years of marriage. Wow. So under those terms of reference, and I've got a few scars to prove it. And I've had a few dinners thrown at me. She's not the best shot in the world, but she's done it.
Terrible waste of a good dinner.
It was, rather, at the time. But
who made it?
Yes, that's his point. But no, it's a case of it's interpreted in a different way, I think. The one back is communication. I know I harp on with that word. We talk to each other. We discuss things. We always have done. And whatever her views are sometimes different than mine, but it's that sort of compatibility.
Well, Prince Charles was the person who said, when he was asked when he was in love, he said, oh, yes, whatever that means. And there you are. It's a very different thing, isn't it, being in love to loving, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I mean, do you just grow up and grow out of being in love? What do you think?
I don't know. This is one of life's many questions.
I know, which unfortunately you're sitting on television and you're supposed to answer.
It's one. I do find it's one of those questions that what is love?
What is love, indeed? And many have asked that question.
It's different for everybody, I think, isn't it?
It's a bit like the Rolls Royce, if you have to ask the question, you can't afford it or you don't understand it. I think with love, I think it's something that you know it when you have it and you share it. You know, it is a very difficult substance, if that's the right word, subject to actually define, but you know what it is if you feel it. You know, it is something that defines your relationship with one person, or perhaps your parents or your brothers, your sisters, that sort of thing, maybe one or two close friends. It is something very, very special. So it is a special feeling. And I think no matter what age you are, I mean, there was a couple I saw yesterday in the paper, and there was an American serviceman who had been over here in World War II, and an Australian lady.
That's right.
And he's about 94 and she's about 88, and they are clearly in love, and they've got back together after all these years. And
wait a minute, the clearly in love bit I'm worried about. How do you know that then?
Well, it's my observation from watching their behaviour on television, but they were clearly very, very friendly and close and holding hands, and to me these are sort of, this is body language.
Alex, I'd like to ask you, because I know on this programme before you've talked about being gay, so I suppose I'd like to ask you, with St Valentine's coming up, do you think people who are gay have a different approach to St Valentine's Day than people who are heterosexual? Does romance mean as much, or?
I think, like from previous experiences, and being with someone for 5 years, we didn't really celebrate Valentine's Day at all. It just came round as another day in the calendar, and everything continued as normal. There was no cards, there was no roses or any. It was just nothing. I think now with someone else, I think it's more likely that we would do something on the very first Valentine's, but then not again.
Well, that's probably not a lot different from heterosexuals. Perhaps they just give up. Do they at year 3, 4, 10 and 12, you know, do they actually go on sending the 12 red roses?
I don't know.
No, I'm down to about 6 at the moment. I should give Pat a bunch of flowers.
Will you?
Yes.
And 59 years you've been married. That's very good going, Mike.
Yeah, I worked it out the other day. It's a costly exercise, but it's worth it in the sense that it's a compatibility of people and so forth. And you have arguments, but you've got friendliness between you. You've got support, you've got loyalty and respect. Those are the sort of things that all make it. And children help to bind that. They're like a mix that sort of like plaster it around and keep it together, even though things might get a little bit bad. And so just saying happy birthday, sending a bunch of flowers, doing it on Valentine's Day, it's just one of their manifestations of that. Although, I mean, a lot of other people manifest in other ways. I have to, at the moment, with my wife, I'll do anything for her because she's incapacitated to that degree. But I'll do it because I suppose that word which we can't define, I love her anyway. So I would do it for her.
But love is love, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
It's what transposes between two human beings, whether it be male and female, or male or female. It does. It's what exists between them. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, of course, the interesting thing, I was talking to a florist on the Isle of Wight who was explaining to me that once upon a time, we all got our dozen red roses from the florists. But they're not happy, some of these florists, because we're all going to supermarkets where I can see one's advertising just a minute ago, £15 for 12 red roses, one supermarket, which I won't name. But florists are saying, what about us, you know? What's our role?
Well, I used to know a florist that was very close to our place of business that I went and bought my red roses from. But I knew this fellow quite well. And he, at that time, this is several years ago, but he was doing sort of 15-20% of his annual margin came from 2 or 3 days around the 14th of February. And I know it's changed dramatically now. It's you know, I mean, the term garage flowers is another one, isn't it? You know, most filling stations have got bunches of flowers.
That's the other thing.
That's the last chance saloon, no?
You think everybody knows their garage
must get some of those.
Well, why doesn't some garage do something really great and make sure they're special for Valentine's Day?
Well, because they're hell-bent on selling fuel, I think. There's enough profit in that.
Wow.
This is ancillary to their major profit plank. But joking aside, I do feel for the florists, as in certain instances I feel for the butcher, the baker and the candlestick maker, because supermarkets have we are going to supply everything to everybody all of the time. So consequently, they squeeze out the market wherever it may.
I think they're stepping back from that though now. I think there was a lot of out of town developments, and now we're coming back towards the high street. I think a lot of people, I know my granny, she goes up the butchers, then she goes here, then she goes there, and she admittedly ends up in the supermarket at the end of but she's got all the main bits she wanted from individual shops. And we're the same when we're shopping, we go to the veg shop, I think some people are coming back to that shopping on the high street.
But lots of supermarkets, there's one in Christchurch I'm thinking of, where you can go and get your teeth seen to. That's crept in, hasn't it?
And your boots, your shoes repaired and keys cut.
But what you can't have is your christening, wedding or funeral flowers done. So you do have to go back to a florist for those.
Yeah.
Now, if that was to move, then they would be in trouble, florists, wouldn't they?
Indeed, yes.
I have seen a florist in a supermarket.
Right.
Yes, there's a supermarket we worked for in London, and it does have a full florist inside the supermarket. And she was doing all sorts of flowers.
Is she independent, or
Yes.
do they?
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
independent.
she's independent.
Right. Well, maybe that's the future, that to go inside these big supermarkets. Maybe they'd make more money.
Well, you're absolutely right, and that's what they should look to. Say, well, I can't break a racket, I better join it.
Yes.
As the old saying goes, and see if they will franchise what I do. Because let's be honest about it. When a supermarket looks at things like that, supplying all these various services, they must think sometimes, well, we've got to have them to keep the people in here and keep them interested, but they're not really cost effective to us in the truest sense. If someone comes along and says, well, will you franchise that to me and I'll pay you so much, but I'll run it, I would have thought it's a no-brainer, really.
Excellent. Right, well, we've exhausted just about everything. Thank you, gents, very much indeed. And a happy St. Valentine's Day to you, whatever you decide to do. Thank you very much indeed. And I live in hope for the 12 red roses. But I'll let you know on Monday. I doubt they've arrived, but I look forward to seeing you on Monday anyway. And thank you for joining us today. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.